All right, I've been looking forward to this one for a little bit. I'd like to introduce Robert Parish, four-time NBA champion. I kind of forgot he snuck one in there with the Bulls a little later in his career. Top 50 player, top 75 player. Robert, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on your show.
All right, here's where I'm going to start. It might be a little bit off the beaten track, but we got a player out here, Draymond Green, who is unbelievably emotional. And I've been watching the NBA for a long, long time, and you were the most stoic, unemotional player I've ever seen. Can I ask you, like, where did that come from, and how did you learn to play like that?
I think my parents, they always have a calm and easygoing demeanor. They always said to my siblings and myself, try not to get too high or too low when things are going good for you. Try not to get too high when you're dealing with adversity. Try not to get too low. Try to find that middle ground. And so that's where my stoic or my calm demeanor kind of came from.
Did you take criticism for that early in your career as people thinking you were apathetic?
Sure did, especially in the Bay Area.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, I can't remember the writer's name, but he used to write often that looked like I didn't care one way or the other whether we won or lost because I never showed any emotions, regardless of the outcome of the game, which is just the opposite. I'm all about winning. I've never been about personal stats or personal accolades. I'm all about winning because when you're winning, everybody gets the love.
Yep.
Robert, I got to ask you this because I followed your career and I thought I knew everything about you, but I just told my partner, I said, did you know one Robert Parish was 6 feet 6 inches in the 7th grade? And I want to ask you now, did the game just come easy, and how was it being that big, that young?
Awkward. Clumsy. I should be concussed right now. And many times I bumped my head, unaccustomed to how tall I was and how long my arms were. And that's one of the reasons why my junior high school coach pursued me to try basketball out, because I was taller than most teachers.
Robert Parish joining us on 95.7 The Game. Let me ask you this, Robert. Do you like the NBA game now as opposed to when you played?
I like everything about today's game except for the zone defense. I'm not a fan of playing zone defense, even though it works, because it definitely slows down the explosive offensive players, make them work a little harder. But in the NBA, I would feel like man up, mano y mano. I'm not a fan of zone defense. Zone defense, in my opinion, belongs in college and high school and the Pee Wee League.
I love it, and I feel the same way. Now, the Warriors are playing your Celtics, and this will be their 6th trip to the finals in 8 years, Robert. And they played LeBron a few times, but they really haven't had that rivalry like Boston and the Lakers, which I grew up with. To you, Robert, can you speak to what made that rivalry special?
Well, the rivalry with the Celtics and the Lakers, in my opinion, it started with Russell and Chamberlain. Chamberlain was with the 76ers, and Russell was with the Celtics. And then when Russell got traded to the Lakers, that rivalry continued. And then when Bird and Magic came into the league, that just expedited that rivalry, made it more intense. And to touch on Magic and Larry, what they did for the NBA in terms of notoriety and the interest, putting the NBA back on the map, they did more for public relations, in my opinion, because they made it cool for someone that don't look like you. It's okay to have them as a friend, to hang out with them, and to care about them. So I have more respect for Larry and Magic from a social perspective than I do from an athletic or basketball perspective.
Speaking of basketball perspective, though, was part of that too, Robert, that both those guys came into the league, basically they both wanted to pass the ball. And that wasn't the way the NBA was perceived back then. Did that also have something to do with it?
Oh, I think they were transcendent in that context because they believe in playing the game the right way, getting everybody involved, sharing the basketball. Because when you're sharing the basketball, you're very difficult to defend. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Warriors have had so much success. Not only are they explosive offensively, but they're tough to guard because they not only have ball movement, but they have player movement also. So they are very difficult to contend with, especially when everybody's healthy. They are a tough cover.
Robert, if you don't mind, I'm going to call you chief on this one because I told my partner, from my couch, I'm so sick and tired of everything in today's NBA. Oh, that was a flagrant 2. And I even showed my 2 sons, that punch you laid on Lambeer. If you did that today, Chief, I'd be putting something on your book somewhere in one of the prisons here. But
isn't that the truth?
Man, can you speak to just how much that guy got under your skin and how y'all just kept playing after that?
The thing with Lambeer that not only myself, that no one, the reason why they did not like Lambeer is because his style of play was to hurt you. We all throw elbows, we all hold, we grab, we trip, anything we can get away with. But we don't try to take you out. Lambeer tried to take you out. He wanted to hurt you. And to make his play more egregious, he got off on it.
Yeah.
He wore it like a badge of honor, which I never understood. There's no place in the game for that type of play. He took that whole tough guy mentality that the Pistons had to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Robert Parish joining us on 95.7 The Game. You played with Bird. You played with Jordan. Which one you like better?
I'm at a ride with Larry for this reason. Larry was the type of leader that led by example, and Jordan got all up in your face, and I don't have a temperament for that. No, don't be all up in my face talking shit. Oh, excuse me, talking trash. I'm not built like that. So they were both great players, leaders, winners, transcendent players and all that. So I prefer someone lead by example because when you're a yeller and a screamer, after a while your voice falls on deaf ears. Nobody pays attention to you. So that's why I prefer my leader to be someone that led by example, and that's why I prefer Larry.
Robert, when I was reading up on my history in the league and the NBA, and you think of what Bill Russell went through and you hear some of the stories of his time in Boston. We had the great Antoine Walker on yesterday. I asked him this question. I want to pose it to you. But, Boston fans sometimes get a bad rap. You hear them yell racist things at Fenway. Can you talk to your experience being a black player in Boston? Did you ever encounter any of that?
Before I became a Celtic, I did my rookie year with the Warriors. Me and some of my teammates were walking back to the hotel from dinner from the restaurant, and 2 carloads of teenagers rolled by twice and used the N-word, told us to go back to California. And not only once, but they rolled by again and did the same gesture, which I always felt like was just ugly behavior to use that type of language at anyone. So that was my experience with Boston. But I have to say, once I got there and got comfortable to know the city and the city know me, the perception is far worse than the reality. Mm-hmm. Boston is not so bad. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, it was really bad when Bill Russell was balling. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I don't know how he was able to be that successful with all that intolerance and prejudice and just looking at you like they wanted to end your life and your career. I give Russell, and not only Russell, but all the Black Sam Jones, all of them for playing in Boston during the 50s and 60s. I know I don't have a temperament for it. You know, I was born at the right time because I'd either be in jail or dead. No question about that.
Robert Parish joining us on 95.7 The Game, 4-time NBA champion. You know, I mean, Centenary is in Shreveport, where you were born, correct?
Correct.
So what was it like spending your whole life in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then finding yourself in the Bay Area? Was that kind of a culture shock?
Oh, now that's an understatement.
Was it fun or just different, or what? Give me how was it?
It was different from this in this context. I went to the gay parade in San Francisco.
Sure.
Oh, you talking about an awakening? Oh my goodness, some of the things that I saw. I think everybody should experience it. Go to the gay parade to experience, because I think it's something that we all should see, and I think that would help us be more accepting and tolerant of the gay, lesbian, transgender community if they go and experience that. Because I think you should understand people that are different from you, and what better way to better understand those people than to see them in their natural environment.
Well said, Robert. I got this last question for you. You know, I'm a 70s baby, so I grew up with Magic, but I tell my partner all the time, the greatest I've seen was your teammate, Michael Jordan. And I got a lot of friends that think Michael, like just what he meant to the league and when he arrived, as crazy as it sounds, Chief, that he's a bit, you know, kind of overrated because of that stuff. And to me, he had no weakness. Have you ever been in awe of a teammate? And when you saw Mike ball, was he the best ball player you ever seen do it?
The only player I was ever in awe was Kareem.
Wow.
I was in awe of Kareem. Oh, my goodness. He's the only player, you know, with all due respect to Michael was a hell of a player during this era. But if you're going to talk about the greatest ever, you got to include Kareem. Now, you talking about Michael unstoppable? Kareem was the closest thing to unstoppable that I ever seen or played against. Kareem left leg should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion, because the elevation that he was able to get on his hook shot and the accuracy which he shot it, and he got a good look every time almost. And not to mention, he had range on it. He could go out to 15, 17 feet and shoot it accurately. Kareem was, in my opinion, the baddest MF to walk on the court, in my opinion.
Love it.
I mean,
but that's just me.
Yeah, I rooted for you guys instead of the Lakers, and it's frustrating watching him because there was literally nothing you could do. I mean, he was either going to make it or miss it.
Just hope he was off, because if he was on, it's going to be a long evening.
But see,
oh my goodness.
See, what I kind of remember though is you played Jabbar pretty well. Moses was tough for you.
Right.
Jabbar was Jabbar, but like Moses gave Kareem trouble because he was so active.
He was so physical.
Yeah.
Moses was one of the most physical ball players that I have ever played against, and not to mention great position, because I'm a defensive minded player, so I'm all about helping my teammates when they get beat defensively. And once Moses get his position for offensive rebound, there's no moving him. And he got only other person that I knew that had that type of response and reflexes was Bill Walton before he started having all the injuries. You know, his timing and judgment and where the trajectory of where the ball is going to come off was uncanny. He and Moses had those instincts. You know, they always seemed to be in the right place for the rebound. And once they got their position, there was no moving them.
Wow.
So, yeah, and speaking of Bill Walton, he don't get enough credit. He and Akeem Olajuwon, since we talking about some great players.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Don't get enough credit.
To me, that '86 team with him coming off the bench, man.
That's it.
Ooh.
Man.
He made me a better player, Bill Walton.
In practice?
Got better playing against him every day.
Yeah, he
there
was.
were days when he felt good and his feet wasn't bothering him, he was disruptive in our scrimmages. There were no layups. And the trash talking was legendary.
This is great.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, everybody talks about load management now, Robert. Guys aren't playing.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
What's your advice to somebody who wants to play 21 years in the league like you did?
Get in shape. That's what I would say. Your physical fitness is paramount if you're going to be an athlete, especially a pro athlete.
Well, you were big into yoga before everybody got into that, correct?
Yeah, yoga and stretching. I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to play so long, because as we all know, as you get older, you get tighter and stiffer just naturally from aging. And that's one of the reasons why I never lost my mobility. Even though my athletic skills diminished, I still had my mobility and I was still agile because of all the stretching that I did over the years.
Chief, I love you for that, because my next question was going to be about the great player we got here, future Hall of Famer in Steph Curry. And I ask my partner every day, why don't I see Harden? Why don't we see, these other great guards try to play without the ball? And I don't think Steph Curry, I won't say he reinvented the shot, Chief, but he's known for the three-point shot. But his fitness, the level of his fitness to keep going when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, why isn't it duplicated? I think you just hit the nail on the head. Guys aren't in that shape that Steph Curry's in. And Chief, I don't think he gets enough credit for it.
Steph and Klay Thompson are perpetual movement. They never stop moving. They never stop making the defense work. Not to mention, Steph revolutionized the game of basketball, in my opinion. And they need to start giving Steph more credit, too. Steph is a transcendent player, historically great player. And they need to stop giving Steph, should I say, downplaying Steph's accomplishment just because he hadn't won a Finals MVP.
Preach.
So what? And they for whatever reason, they're holding it against him. I don't understand that. A two-time MVP, 3 championships, scoring titles. What more the man got to do to be considered an all-time great, which he is, by the way?
Yeah. Hey, I got to ask you one thing, because this has been bothering me, I don't know, Robert, for about 40 years. You know the night where Bird and Julius Irving got into it at Boston Garden?
Right.
How come nobody talks about the fact that happened in the middle of the third quarter? Bird had 42 that night with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Irving couldn't buy a bucket. Why don't people say, Julius Irving, he cost Bird maybe a 75-point night?
Well, if you'd heard what Larry was saying to him, you understand why Julius lost it.
Can you tell us, Chief?
And we all know Larry is legendary trash talking. All it was is Dr. J's ego and pride.
Right.
He had probably one of his worst basketball outings ever at the most inopportune time. And Larry constantly reminded him of it. Oh, man, the trash talking. Oh, my goodness. I would have threw a punch if it was me.
I wish you could give us some examples, T, but we'll probably get in trouble.
You guys would be on the air.
Oh, man.
Hey, Chief, let me ask you about Draymond Green, and because you guys talked about him earlier, and I tell my young sons this: everybody's trying to be the star and the Steph Curry, and I get it, but do you think guys like Draymond have carved a niche in this league to where, okay, maybe you ain't the best at shooting the ball, but you're that energy guy? You keep things together. Do you appreciate what you see from him, and do you think we'll see this young generation or new guys trying not to be Steph, but getting in where they fit in and trying to be Draymond?
Well, you would like to think so, but Draymond is just like a Swiss Army knife. He does pretty much everything that the Warriors need, and he is the engine that makes the Warriors go, in my opinion. Because without Draymond, when Draymond was hurt, they're not the same team. Not to mention he's the energy guy. He gives them that toughness defensively, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Warriors were one of the top defensive ball clubs, because of Draymond's play. For someone that's 6'8", 6'9",
yeah,
he plays a lot bigger than he is. He plays like he's 7 feet tall. And he doesn't back down either. That's one thing I like about him.
Never.
Draymond don't take shit. I love that about him.
No, he doesn't. Hey,
excuse my language.
That's all right. We got one of those.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we got one of those things that makes that go
We love
away.
the Chief, man.
Hey, Robert, do you make predictions? Like, what do you see for this series? Are you looking forward to it? Who do you think's going to win?
I'm looking forward to it because, as you know, my career started with the Warriors. They took a chance, a leap of faith, by drafting me, and my career pretty much was over in Boston, even though I played 3 additional years. But my premium years was when I was in with the Boston Celtics. So I'm going to take a political term. I'm an independent. Whoever is playing the best ball, I think is going to win. But I will say this: I think it's going 7.
I hope so, man. I hope it's a great series. Hey, are you still?
I think it will be, because they pretty much evenly match. The coaching is solid. Both offenses are explosive and solid. Defensively, they're strong. And what I like about both sides, they play hard, they play smart, and they play together. So it should be a very interesting and entertaining series.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, man, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time. Hope you're doing well, you're healthy, and love to talk to you again down the line.
Thank you, and continued success to the two of you. And thank you for making me comfortable and making it easy for me.
I'll even give you one more.
I feel like I know you, Robert. There you go.
There you go.
I like that.
All right. Thank you, Robert. You're class act,
All right,
man.
take care, man.